This book had me so excited for the premise as I really enjoyed the previous books. But honestly, this book tanked so bad, I had to force myself to continue reading it. The Elves and the Shoemaker by Emory Winters is the fourth part of the griMM romance fairy tale series. This book follows Ellis, Roderick, and Johann. Ellis and Roderick are two elves who have escaped imprisonment, and you might remember them from the first book, Little Red Riding Hood, as these two are a part of the elves that are freed by Red and Wim. Now, this book doesn't just end there with the cameos, but let's talk about the premise. Ellis and Roderick are recently freed elves, but they have nowhere to go, and they don't have connection to magic due to the magical cuffs on them. They're penniless with nothing to do but to beg, until they meet the young shoemaker, Johann, a gentle giant who cannot speak due to an unknown reason. He can say certain words and phrases sometimes, but for the most part, he's pretty mute. They have to learn to trust each other and carve out a life for themselves in a world that would rather see Ellis and Frederick or Roderick imprisoned for the rest of their life. Well, not imprisoned as much as enslaved. Now, I do want to say this book has a couple of warnings. So first off, as I've already said, there is mention of elf enslavement. While these are fictional creatures, I do want to point that out because enslavement itself is not fictional. It has a very bad, dark history to it. So reader discretion is advised. The book doesn't go into extreme detail about this, but it is a part of the book, so just be warned. Also, this book, oh my goodness. I have never read a more heated book in my life. I swear that was the main crux of this book. I hope I said that word right. So much heat, like 5 out of 5 chili peppers, or flames, whatever you want to use there. It was heated, massively heated to the point of overdone. The setting is the same as Little Red Riding Hood, Zell, and Hansel and Gerhardt. It's in the magical world. It's in the same kingdom ruled by the evil queen. And it takes place primarily in the kingdom itself, in the shoemaker Johann's shop. Now, the setting kind of goes a bit deeper with what's going on in the world with the famine. And of course, discussing the whole elf thing with them being enslaved and being free elves and titles, and kind of goes deeper into how elves are put into that position. Well, some, not all. As for characters, let's talk about Ellis first because I don't like Ellis. Ellis is a silver-haired elf. He is very obsessed to getting his magic back, which is understandable. It's a part of him and Roderick that they really want back. And I may be saying Roderick's name wrong. But Ellis is the main heated person. He cannot stop. I swear, this guy feels like he belongs in the Rocky Horror Picture Show. If you've seen that, you know what I'm talking about. Goodness gracious. He would give Dr. Frankenfurter a run for his money. Just saying. Ellis is kind of a whine bag. I'm not going to lie. He kind of cries and whines more than Roderick, and a lot more than Johann. He's kind of the, he doesn't really think logically when it comes to certain things. It's more about passion for him, as where Roderick is definitely more mental thinker. Ellis can also be pretty selfish, and I did not like it about him. I think where it comes to character likability, for me, Ellis is a zero. And when it comes to having relatability to the character, I don't see Ellis as a relatable character myself. I think he's kind of flat, and doesn't really have much of a characteristic about him. Now, Redrick, Roderick, again, I'm not good at saying that poor elf's name. He is more so on the lines of wanting to please Ellis, and less on the lines of being exactly like Ellis. He thinks more clearly. He's more logical, and as such, he's constantly butting heads of Ellis, but he really loves Ellis. I'm saying that name so much, I'm talking about Roderick. Roderick is very kind of knowledgeable of his companion and what he likes and doesn't like, and kind of teaches Johann about that, because this is a polyamorous relationship. I forgot to mention that. Between Ellis, Roderick, and Johann. So, yeah. um, Roderick is the kind of person that also can jump the gun pretty quickly when it comes to things. So he's a logical thinker, but sometimes that backfires on him, and he takes things way too seriously. And it's like, man, just think it through and understand that, not everything has to be a split second decision or something where it's gloom and doom. Talk to the people around you. I think he's more relatable than Ellis. I kind of liked him a 3 out of 5 character wise, likability. I think people who are more logical thinkers but can sometimes be kind of misled by their heart and emotions, especially extreme cases where they go from 0 to 60 out of nowhere, when it comes to self doubt and stuff. I think people like that can relate to Roderick very easily and very well. Next up is Johann. I doubt I'm saying his name right either. Johann is the shoemaker. He again is basically mute. He's never been with anyone before. He grew up with his parents. They both unfortunately passed away a couple winters before, the winter before that. And he's been alone for a long time because of this. And his house is kind of cold. He's a shoemaker by trade, but his hands are big, so he's not really able to get the finer details onto the shoes. And because of this, his shoes can't really sell for a high price, and he gets enough money to go by to live on, but it's nothing luxurious. So Johann is also new to polyamory, but he quickly develops feelings for both Ellis and Roderick, which works because both of them develop feelings for Johann as well. So it's a mutual pining between the three. Though at times it kind of felt one-sided with Johann with Ellis. Meanwhile, Roderick liked them both. I think they liked each other equally, but it felt more like they were pushing Johann to Ellis and Roderick to Ellis. And kind of when it came to Roderick and Johann, it was kind of a no-go situation, unfortunately. Um, Plot-wise, I could not find the plot of this. I'm not going to lie. I think there is a plot, but it's super weak. It's a very weak plot, and I hate to kind of be negative about this book because the author, Emory Winters, did state that this was the first big book they were doing. They were a small indie author before they were invited to do this by T.J. Rose, the author of Little Red Riding Hood, the first book in the series, who apparently was the one who organized all these different authors to write these different books in the series. And I hate to be negative towards Emory's attempt, but honestly, the plot was very weak. It kind of reminds me of Last Corazon of Olympus, where it was mainly heat, with the plot kind of being in the background. Except at least there was an actual plot. This, I swear, was mostly a heat book. There was heated scene after heated scene after heated scene. I swear, once the three of them finally got together, they were like rabbits. They wouldn't stop. Which kind of, I think, hurt the emotional side of the relationship. It felt more like a physical attraction rather than an emotional attraction. So, yeah. Um, Pros and cons. Pros, it's a retelling of the Elves and the Shoemaker. That's the only pro I have about this book. I hate to be so negative. Negative wise, I couldn't really find the plot, or I think I did, but it was so weak that didn't really matter. Oh wait, there is one pro. Um, the character callbacks are in this book. We have Zell and his lover back in the book. They're mentioned. They come into it once, with the sorcerer being mentioned again later on. We have Red and Wim back in the book, and we have everyone's favorite, very disturbing couple, Hansel and Gerhardt. I will say negative wise of Hansel and Gerhardt though is the fact that they kind of aren't where their story ended, and the sense of where they're living, which was kind of weird to me and didn't really make much sense. Why they weren't living in that extravagant place they got, especially now working with the Thieves Guild. Like, what's going on here? Why are they suddenly living in the woods? And this is taking place after the events of that book, so it's not like they just came across this place or whatever. And apparently they meant harm to the elves and Johann, which is not okay. um, Zell was kind of like, meh, I don't care. I don't care about you. Go, whatever. But Wim and Red were more concerned about them, and I think became friends with Ellis and Roderick and Johann. Um, Negative. I think I've already been negative enough. The cons, I've already said them. Um, the audience for this book, if you like heated scene after heated scene after heated scene, and you're really just looking for a detailed book on such topics, The Elves and the Shoemaker is definitely for you. Definitely. You will love this book. If you're like me and you want plot and beef to the story, it's not there. It's not there whatsoever. It's missing. Um, this book is definitely an adult book. I cannot stress that enough. The griMM series, that's Grim spelled with two capital M's at the end, is an adult book series. So if you came across this review, when you're under 18, please don't read it. Not only could these books scar you, but they're not made for children. They're not made for teenagers or preteens, whatever you, young adults, whatever you want to identify yourself as. If you're under 18, don't read these books. Rating wise, again, I hate to do this to Emory, but it's a 1 out of 5 Rainbow Hearts. I hated this book. I didn't like it. It's definitely the weakest of the series so far, and that's saying something because I thought Hansel and Gerhardt was going to be at the bottom because of how weird it is. But no, it kind of just, faltered a lot, and you know, I didn't care for the book. I will, however, be looking up other books by Emory Winters in hopes of seeing if their other work is better. From the sounds of it, this book was among the first they've done, or at least the first major thing they've done. So that may be why it's not as good. I want to give them the same grace I gave Amanda Mewison because she proved me wrong. She proved me wrong with Zell. She proved me wrong with Last Thrall of Asgard. Um, and I want to see if Emery can do that. I really hope they can because I love being proven wrong about authors when I don't think they're good because I want to be impressed by them. I want them to succeed and I want to read good books. I want to read good books all the time. Um so I would not recommend this book, I will say. If you're reading the griMM series, I do recommend because it's best if you read all the books in order, including the Elves and the Shoemaker. Um, that being said, if you're just looking for an elf book or a polyamorous book, I wouldn't really recommend this book. I think it does a bad job covering polyamory. I don't know. I'm not polyamorous, so I can't tell you. But I don't think he does a very good job of explaining that or going into detail with that. The muism, I'm probably missaying that word, does go into a good way in the book. And the author states that they did have conversations with people who are mutes, or who have mutism. Sorry, I don't want to say mutes because I feel like that might be offensive. I apologize. People who who are, can't really speak or have certain situations where they can't really speak. Emory did say that they, talked to people like that and did proper research, to be unoffensive about the topic. And I think they did a good job. Again, though, I I don't have that situation, so I can't say for sure. That's up to people who do have trouble speaking or can't speak at all. It's up to them, honestly, to decide if it's offensive or not. But yeah, would not recommend this book unless, again, you're reading the series. Um, that's going to be it for this book review. I I didn't care for it. I really didn't. Um, but the next book I really enjoyed, even though it's a sports gay romance. I'm not a big sports person unless it's basketball, even then, only when it's my teams. But I was really surprised by that book. And no, it's not Heated Rivalry, um, but it is about hockey, and it was amazing. I will see you next Friday with that review. That being said, stay cozy, keep reading. I'll see you later. Bye.